Hello there. You're watching a hangout, a Google Hangout from Fantasy Football Scout. This is the Rate My Team Surgery Hangout, the first one. I'm with Jonty. Good evening, Jonty.
Good evening there, Mark.
Hello. New season.
Hello.
Are you excited?
I am actually, yeah. It's only a couple of weeks away. I've just been away on holiday, and I did what I try and do every year I go on holiday. I go out of internet access for a full 7 days. I know, and I know, shaking your head in fear of that. So I've read a few back pages, so I knew some of the pre-seasons and some of the transfer news. But it means I couldn't tinker with my team, and I couldn't really look in depth at it. It was quite nice, really. So coming
liberating, was it?
It was liberating.
Nice. Yeah.
I feel refreshed now, and I've come back, and the team I left as my initial draft didn't really change much since I came back.
Did you not come back and it now looks rubbish? I think that's what happened.
No, not really, because there was a few, we'll come to it when we talk about other people's Rate My Teams, but there was a few things we already know. We know that some of the big hitters like Aguero and Sanchez probably aren't going to be playing game week 1. So there's no point having them. So that solves the problem there. We know that Hazard has a good fixture and is probably going to be captained and is owned by over half the people and be captained by half of them. So, we know that he's going to be an important player in game week 1. So these things didn't really change in the week, which was good.
Yeah, I mean, it's come around quick though, isn't it? The season. It's been obviously it's very shorter break. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's a week earlier, isn't it? So it'd be exciting.
It's crept up, so less than a week to go, or less than 2 weeks to go. It's there's a lot of Rate My Teams on the site, which is why we're doing this. It's kind of like a dry run for next week. The surgery is proper next week when we're going to have. We hope we're going to have Duff Link, Simon March. We hope we're going to have Tom Finley. We also hope we're going to have Spider-Man as well. We could on the Friday, which is the final day before deadline. And
it's worth pointing out that all 3 of those are FPL champions.
Yeah, the three.
For those that don't know, so the last 3 FPL champions will be hopefully with us at some point.
Yeah, with us a week on Friday on August the 7th. So 24 hours, well, less than 24 hours before you commit your teams. We hope to have those 3 guys with us and giving some advice and on the hangout as well, maybe. Certainly hope to have Simon or Tom as well this time next week on Wednesday. So Joe and I thought we'd get this going just to test this out basically between us. It's very informal. This is not a scout cast. Any minute now, I could be called out of here. The baby could be crying. I'll have to go back into.
You have a new baby for those that don't know. So
finding time for this we just thought we'd give this a go. I've got a new setup as well. You may have noticed new decor, new surroundings.
Very nice.
I'm in my office at the end of the garden, so it's I'm in a great place. So I thought I'd test that out as well, which is nice. So bear with us because this is just going to be me and Jonty chatting about things.
Yeah.
Ryan may drop in at any time as well, and we've got a few moderators and contributors in the article. If you don't know, we've launched the Rate My Team Surgery article tonight at 8 o'clock, and Jonty and I are going to be going through that now and just picking up the Rate My Teams and discussing some of the issues, and we'll also throw in a bit about our own teams as well, because
we will definitely.
I must admit I was up till 2 in the morning last night, didn't sleep well. I'm a bit delirious through tiredness, and it wasn't the kid keeping me up, it was Eden Hazard, who I took out. And then I was watching the Chelsea game, and then he straight back in again.
And then he dazzled.
And he did that, and of course straight back in again. And when you put someone like Hazard back in your team, that's major surgery, isn't it? So I was sitting there, and I looked at the clock, and it was like 10 to 2, and I'm like, what am I doing? There I am with a 2-week-old baby, and I'm keeping myself up, tinkering with my fantasy life.
But when the game week 1 is underway, and we haven't got unlimited transfers anymore. If you wanted to ditch Hazard, well, that's easy. But if you haven't got him in and you want to get him in, oh dear, you're going to be in trouble. So you probably.
I'm still like that. I'm still on the fence. Let's go and have a look at some of the Rate My Teams.
Who we got first then?
So I'm on page 1. Let's pick on someone who hasn't been answered as yet. Let's go to the very bottom there, under one of your posts. In fact, we'll talk about your post in a minute. Your perfect Rate My Team thing.
Oh yeah.
But let's get on to Preed. So he hasn't been answered yet. So let's get him an answer. I might type something in for him in a minute, but. So he's got a lineup: Speroni, Butland, Azpilicueta, Alderweireld, Cedric, Morgan, Stephen Taylor, Hazard, Ozil, Henderson, Chadley, Key, Rooney, Benteke, Deeney. Some interesting names here. So he's saying here, he's setting up the transfer to Sanchez. Now, a lot of people are doing this.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to be getting Sanchez in game week 2 because we kind of know what Wenger's come and said he's not playing. So he's got Ozil in there. And I've got to say, Ozil was a player that has been in and out of my team as well.
Yeah.
So he's saying he's planning to get an Ozil in. Then it looks like he's going to get Sanchez in to replace him. Stephen Taylor, he's got in as a 4.0 defender. And he's looking at Matt Target. Now, Stephen Taylor played in the last pre-season game, but I don't see it. Do you?
No, I think this season, it's been pointed out before. I mean, at the beginning of every season, people are searching for those £4 million defenders. During pre-season's not a good time to judge because it's very much testing out squad players. It's only really the last pre-season game where we'll get some hint of a starting 11. For example, the Community Shield. I think I think all 4 million defenders currently are a risk. There are none that I think are certain starters. 1 or 2 will emerge. You want to get on them. Now the problem with Stephen Taylor, if he's got a £4 million one in, and he's already made plans in his head, he's already saying, "Well, I'm going to get Sanchez in for us." So he's already got that transfer, locked in. He's got a team set up for it. So that's 2 moves I'm not too keen on there. One is, if Stephen Taylor is owned by 5%, 2%, it doesn't matter. If he's owned by anyone and they start ditching him after a couple of game weeks, then his price is going to fall. And suddenly he's going to have we've seen it before, 3.8, 3.9 million defender. You're never going to get rid of them. You're never going to
they sit there rotting, don't they? This is a trouble 4.0 defender.
And that's a real problem. So I would recommend, this is something I did last year, I would recommend not going below 4.5 initially, because you can always dip down. You can always get rid of a 4.5 for an emerging 4 million. So I think that's a potential error.
Just looking now, Taylor's at 6.2 ownership. So
I consider that pretty high for a 4 million.
Yeah, and Baker's 14.9. He's the top owned 4 million defender. Well, he's not going to play, is he? Because he's going to play Kieran Clark and Richards.
It was pointed out. I think it was community regular Doozer pointed out. I did a rate my team ages ago of my own team, and I had Wanyama in there, and he pointed out quite correctly. I think Wanyama then had something ridiculously high ownership, something like he's a £4.5 million midfielder. He's going to play, so we're fine with that.
He's 19.8.
19.8 ownership. So that's probably only going to go one way, and then suddenly you've got a 4.5 million, 4.4 million, 4.3, and that's once again, you don't really want to be changing your 4.5 million.
Why is Wanyama's only going to go one way? Why? Well, he's going to play every week.
But what will happen is at the beginning of the game, you'll have people like you and I and all the people that are regulars on Fantasy Football Scout who know what Matt Wanyama's all about. He's basically going to be 2 or 3 points every match. He might get you a goal. He might get a yellow card. You know what he is. But there's going to be people who are looking at him going, "Wow, 4.5 million, plays for Southampton," and this may be their first season.
Well, the thing is, he's the top scoring 4.5.
Yeah. They look at that and they think, "Why isn't he scoring every week?" And then when they come to wildcard, because we have 2 wildcards this year, so we can 2 wildcards as in one for one half the season, one for the other. So there's going to be much more early wildcarding because they'll think, "Why not?" And I think he's only potentially going to go one way. I can't imagine people desperate to get him in, because an attacking 4.5 million midfielder like Albrighton did further on to last season is going to emerge, and then people are going to say, "Well, have I got this defensive midfielder who's getting yellow cards and like a goal every 20 games?" When I could be getting in.
Yeah, but it goes back to the fact that you're not going to make that transfer very quickly because there'll always be other things to do. So I think Wanyama might drop, but I don't know. I think the masses will get away with that one for a long time.
Might do. But one thing I would say about Preed's team, so he's got a midfield of Hazard, Özil, Henderson, Chadley and Keane. Another one of our regulars, Trigger Lips, did a community article for us a little while ago about the 5th midfielder. So I've just been talking about the 5th midfielder, the 4.5 million midfielder. It's been a kind of a staple template for fantasy managers for a number of years now, because that money it saves you the headache of rotating players. You can have them on the bench. You know they're going to come on and get you 2, 3 points. They might do as George Boyd did last season. They might get you more. But looking at Preed's team, he's got Hazard, Özil, Henderson, Chadley, Key, and then up front he's got Rooney, Benteke, and Deeney. Now, I would, if I had all of those, I'd be looking to start them. So he's already starting to look at rotation of attackers.
Yeah.
So his cheapest midfielder is Key. So presumably Key and Deeney are the ones.
No, they don't rotate.
But they don't rotate at all. So he's got a rotation.
Well, they do after game week 3. So they first 3 game weeks they don't.
First 3 game weeks, he's essentially got 2 not great options. But I was going to say last season, you remember on the Scoutcast, I had Jason Punchin, who was a 5.5 at then. He was my cheap midfielder, and I rotated him to my cost most weeks.
You got it wrong, yeah.
Because and I think with Key, you're going to get it wrong because he does score, he does get forwards, and if you're going to play Key, you're just going to have him. You know, you have him every week. The same with Deeney as well. Now Deeney could be another Charlie Austin. He could be another Ebanks Blake.
Well, we're hoping that's going to happen.
Yeah. But once again, we don't know. So how is he going to get that right? How is Preed going to get that right?
Well, let's have a look at the fixtures because Watford, Swansea, that's the rotation we're talking about. So they're away. They're both at home game week 2, then they start to rotate from game week 3.
Yeah.
So it goes Watford at home to Southampton and Swansea away to Sunderland. See, there you got a problem straight away because. Yeah. You're looking at home, well, he's going to play Deeney at home, but they were home to Southampton, who are probably the best, well, they are the best travelling defence in the league.
Yeah.
And yet, Key will be going to Swansea, former club, Sunderland rather, his former club, and Swansea could easily score at Sunderland.
Yeah.
Then after that, it's Man United, Man City, so you wouldn't want to play either of those, really. Right. I suppose he would play Key at home to United.
So I think, Preed's team is an interesting one because it's half there, as in he's thinking about rotation, but he hasn't got the main bit that you need, which is the actual teams that rotate well. But of course, as well, we actually don't know. We don't. Last season, QPR was slight unknown quantity. We didn't know how they were going to do. Turned out they were excellent at home. Turned out they were terrible away. A bit like Stoke have always been, and probably will again this season. Then it turned out some other teams as well around that. So maybe Leicester ended up being pretty good away from home some games, and then they did nothing, and then they were just good every game for the second half of the season. So at the moment, it's all these unknowns, and we'll come to this with my general rules about rate my teams, and I think at the beginning you don't know. There's too many variables. And I always warn against creating more variables, and by variables I mean players that are new to the Premier League, teams that are new to the Premier League, rotation strategies based around form. Well, they're based around fixtures, but you have to consider form as well. We've got no form, so a rotation strategy has got to be quite loose and vague. So I think Preed would probably have to go back to the drawing board here, possibly consider the 5th midfielder option, or if he is going to go down this route, to have a really good look at the fixtures and come up with some really good rotations.
Well, for me, he hasn't got a Bournemouth attacker in there. For me, Bournemouth's start to the season is so strong that I think he should look at Callum Wilson in for Deeney. I mean, I know that Watford have got the 2 home games to follow game week 1, and that's tempting.
Yeah.
But again, one of those is Southampton at home, and that's not going to be easy. Whereas I think Bournemouth, the thing about Bournemouth is we're presuming that Eddie Howe's going to go on the attack and that their goals are going to be on their agenda. We don't expect them to see them going into matches and trying to contain opponents. We expect them to give as good as they get. I mean, they're all about possession, Bournemouth, so they're going to try and play perhaps beyond their expected level. They're going to try and hold possession and score goals. Callum Wilson is probably... It's close between Deeney and Wilson, but for me, because of the fixtures, I'm probably going to favour Wilson at the moment. Because I'm not looking beyond the first 4 or 5 weeks. I'm not presuming I'm going to keep that player beyond the first 4 weeks, because there's a big shake-up coming when Aguero comes in, when Sanchez comes in, right? Yeah. So it might be that I have to get Deeney and Wilson. It might be that a lot of us do in order to make room for Aguero. So I think at this stage, you can set up your rotations and so on, but I actually think that you're only looking really 3 or 4 game weeks ahead at the moment. So for me, Wilson for Deeney here. What do you think about? I mean, Matt Targett is probably my preferred option if I had to go with 4.0.
I personally wouldn't go for Matt Targett. I've said before, I'd just start with 4.5 million ones. Problem with Matt Targett is when Bertrand's back. I mean, they've just got in Stephen Corker as well. He's quite...
but don't let that put you off of Southampton.
No, I know, but that's obviously he's a relegation favourite, but but that's just another variable putting in. So once again, you've got these variables, but with Matt Targett, that's short term, isn't it? So you're going to be left with game week 3, 4, a £4 million player that's just never going to play. So already that's a problem.
The only way that is an option is if I know that Luke Disable is already booking in his wildcard for game week 2 or 3.
Well, then that's
so if
fine.
you're doing that, then you can do it.
Well, I think that's a great option then. I think if you're going to do that, personally, I like to, I might play my wildcard game week 2. I might play it game week 12. I don't know, but I like to have the option of playing it, when it can best help me, rather than before the season's even started. Each season has different things happening to it. We don't know what they are yet. Will a 2-man attack be great? Will two forwards from one team emerge as essential, like Sturridge and Suarez once were? Will Benteke form some incredible partnership with Sturridge, and Sturridge becomes fit? Will we need to get them and Aguero in? We don't know. We just don't know. And so it's important to be flexible. And I think Preed's not got a very flexible side here. He's already presenting with problems. I can see that team being wildcarded. And I get exactly what you say about Callum Wilson as well. I think if you're going to go for a new promoted team, Bournemouth's fixtures are fantastic at the beginning, and they're an attacking side. Watford's fixtures are pretty poor, I think, at the beginning. I would be, Wilson and Ritchie. Definitely. So one of Key or Deeney out for one of those two would be a pretty good move. And I would look at getting a 4.5 midfielder in. But
looking at Watford, they've got. I mean, the temptation is because they've got the 2 home games to follow the Everton trip.
Yeah,
they're playing Everton, Southampton, City, and Swansea in the first 5, right?
Yeah.
So 4 of those. In fact, West Brom is their second game. So they're literally playing 4 of the best, or if not 5 of the best defences in the first 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Now,
there's not going to be a lot of goals there. He might get the odd one.
I mean, we don't know if the West Brom defence is going to do what it did last year. We don't know if Everton are going to tighten up. We don't know if Southampton would be decent away from home. Swansea, they may well travel and concede goals. But if you're looking at it based on last season's football, you've got to say there's not a lot of goals in those games for Watford, unless they really take us by surprise. And the other thing about Watford and Deeney is the 11 is going to be almost completely new, isn't it? I mean,
it's completely new. I mean, I think we've got. I think there's talk that is the new fellow Gerardo. It can be a number 10. Chances are he'll be out on a wing. I think Deeney and is it Abdi as well? Will probably be the only 2 midfielders and forwards that survive from the Championship.
Well, I don't even think Abdi's that. It's all changed, and we don't know how they're going to play, how they're going to set up.
And it comes back to the original point. It's variables again. So by going Deeney, you're getting these more variables in. At least with Bournemouth, and same with Norwich to a certain extent as well, who also have quite good early fixtures. They're pretty much a settled side. With Norwich have got the problem that Watford haven't got. Watford have got they've got a tap running from Italy that they can just ooze out players. Come on over. They haven't got a problem replacing their team. Chances are they'll probably replace it again in January. Norwich, they can't get anyone to join them. I mean, no disrespect to Norwich, but who would really if they can't offer the wages?
I keep seeing articles we write about Norwich, and we keep saying that they're relying on the goals of Cameron Jerome, which when that sentence relying on the goals of Cameron Jerome,
and who is injured as well. So then it gets even worse. They're relying on the goals of what? Gary Hooper.
I think he's on the way. I think he's going out.
Van Winkle, whatever his name is.
Van Winkle, I think there's work to be done with Preed there. I would look at Callum Wilson. I wouldn't go near a 4.0 defender unless you're going to wild card early. And you may well be booking that in. You may well be doing what Luke's doing. which I think is strange. Let's move on to page 2. Concrete's post. Do you want to pick that one out?
Let's have a look at him then. So now this is quite an interesting one as well. So he has gone for the 4.5 million fifth midfielder template as well. He has also got Wilson in there, so this is good. So he's got a couple of these good points here. So I'll just go through his team.
He's got Wanyama, I noticed.
Yeah, he's got Wanyama as his 4.5, so he's got 4.5 million midfielders. So he's got Fabianski, Schmeichel, Ivanovic, Koscielny, Francis. Is it Prodl or Prodl?
Yeah, I don't know. Pronunciations are new on us at the moment.
Basson as well. So Hazard, Henderson, in brackets Chadley. So he's only and ahhing about that. Ramsey, favourite of mine. Key again, Wanyama, Aguero. Benteke, Wilson. I mean, I think the standout person that we need to discuss there is Aguero. Pretty much, he's just come back to training, I believe, next week.
Yeah, and the thinking is that in previous seasons when Aguero has been a doubt for game week 1, he's been on the bench and come off and scored a couple of goals.
Yeah, he did against Swansea, his debut, didn't he? 2 goals. So yes, he's got Aguero in place. He doesn't have to commit major surgery ahead of game week 4 when Watford visit Man City, which is probably when everyone will be captaining Aguero, and quite rightly so. So you've got a problem there. For immediately, he's got Aguero in, so he could be having a non-playing £13 million player there. But looking at his team, I don't know if that is such a problem because his team's pretty strong. Hazard, obviously, I mean, that's a great captaincy choice. Ramsey, well, they've got a great fixture. I mean, he's a good player. Henderson as well. So we think he's on penalties still.
Yeah, but he's taking Henderson and Benteke to Stoke.
But yeah, he's taking Henderson and Benteke. So he's looking at not a lot of goals there. I'm just thinking not just for game week 1. I'm thinking how he's set up.
And also, Key is playing Chelsea, so he's not going to get much out of Key. So he's got to play 5 in midfield.
So I think what Concrete's got is he's actually got a very good team for game week 2.
Right? Is that good? Is that a good idea?
Well, I mean, you think about it. There might be other teams who've got a great game week 1 team, and then when it comes to game week 2, so let's have a look at game week 2's Key. When Liverpool host Bournemouth, who are going to have to go on the attack. When West Ham face Leicester, when West Brom have got Watford, Swansea have got Newcastle with a McLaren defence coming into town. So you've got all of these options there. So you're starting to think there. So you think game week 2, I'd be thinking, yeah, Henderson's good, Milner, Benteke, great. I think, maybe Sacco. Berahino, if he's still there. Swansea, Sigurdsson looks pretty good that week as well. And you go down that list. Now, not a lot of those names are going to be game week 1 ones. So, I mean, I'm quite keen to avoid, basically advising people to copy my team because everyone's got to have their different team. For Concrete here, for game week 1, I'm good. Cards on the table. It's not a great game week 1 side. I would be very surprised if he has a good start. I think he will have a quite poor game week 1. But then come game week 2, with Aguero as well, he could be laughing. He could be like marching up then.
Yeah, but the thing is, let's go back to Aguero, because the thing is, like, his first 3 games, right, we don't know if he's going to play against West Brom away, right?
Yeah,
he may not play. Even if he did play, West Brom away, they're not going to give much to City. I mean, City are going to have to play pretty well to knock them over by more than a couple of goals, right? Yeah. So we don't think West Brom are going to roll over, right? Then City play Chelsea at home, which is going to be as tense as it gets, even early on. So, I mean, Chelsea, Mourinho will turn up there and go, right, well, I'm going to... Well, he's definitely going to defend and hit on the ball.
He'll be having a triple-decker bus turning up to that one. Yeah.
And then it's Everton away, Goodison, but we don't know what we're going to get with Everton, but they've previously made Goodison a fortress. So Aguero has not got easy fixtures.
No.
So you could, and a lot of people will be, and I probably will be one of them, will be sitting on going, well, I'm not going to consider Aguero until you rightly say, game week 4, and it's Watford at home, then Palace away, West Ham at home. You want him in that one, definitely. So
this is... I mean, perhaps I think there's a happy medium to get here, and I think Concrete's kind of halfway there. I think he does need to go back, have a look at the season ticker on on our website. Have a look at game week 1 in detail and have a look at those fixtures. And I think he would reconsider Benteke and Henderson. You know, he will be looking at Key, so he's going to have to play. He's going to have to play one of Key or Wanyama, so that's pretty poor for game week 1. Maybe he'll be going 4 at the back, but then you know he's got a Bournemouth defender there, so he's got an Arsenal defender. He's got Ivanovic.
Yeah,
so
he's going to do all right at the back. He's going to do.
So he potentially is going to have to play 4 at the back.
Yeah. Well, he'll be playing Basson against Palace. He'll be playing Francis against Villa, and he'll be
once again, these are variables. So he'll be having two of those in. So you know that's not too bad actually. I mean that's what I think. He's kind of got a squad there. I mean another one of my points that I'm sure we'll discuss later about rate my teams is I quite like the flexibility and having. You know, having that ability to move your team around. He's got a pretty flexible team. So he wanted to upgrade Henderson to a 8.5 midfielder that's emerging, maybe to pay. Well, you know, he's got a £7 million defender there, so he whacks off £1.5 million, which is easily done. He can whack off £2 million on that one.
Yeah.
He's basically got Ivanovic in the bank, which is good. But yeah, I agree with you. I think he's being hasty with Aguero. I think he's not going to get great returns initially, but I admire his foresight in thinking ahead. Yeah, and
also I think Benteke and Henderson. I think having 2 Liverpool was a gamble because I mean they got destroyed at Stoke last time. I mean they're going to go out to get revenge in game week 1, and I'm not saying that they can't get a result there, and obviously they've got the Bournemouth game in game week 2, which is what he's looking at. But then they follow that with Arsenal, West Ham at home, and United away. So yes, they've got 2 good home games in the first 5, but then the away games, Stoke, Arsenal, United. I don't think those 5 fixtures warrant double investment in Liverpool.
No, not at all. No. And also, we don't know as well. We don't know how Benteke is going to fit in.
No, exactly. We don't.
It's another variable that's put in there. I would say that Henderson and Milner are not variables. We know what Milner can do. We also know that Rodgers wants to play him in an attacking central midfield role. He keeps talking about how he was at Villa. And remember those days when Milner was at Villa? Milner was essential. He was
steady.
He had good value. I didn't get him in until about 4 weeks into his run, and he still kept going. And there was about 8 weeks, and it was incredible. Milner was getting double-digit scores every week.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, looking at the reaction to Concrete's post, Duzra comes in, rates it 9 out of 10. There's a lot of positivity going on. And I think there is. If you look at it beyond game week 1, I mean. I think Benteke is going to work out for Liverpool. It's going to work out for people to get him.
Yeah.
I don't know about Ramsey over Ozil. I think that's very close, and even Kafula as well. But one player I want to throw in a minute moves us on to the next team I've picked out.
Okay.
We haven't come across Theo Walcott yet.
Oh, great.
And I'm looking at Brainstem further down on that page, on the second page. Now, Andy has already answered this one.
Let's have a look. What's he called?
Brainstem. He's further down there. You got it? So he's got Ruddy, Ivanovic. Ruddy, Ivanovic, Cedric, Hoof, Hazard, Silva, Walcott, or Wally as he calls him, Chadley, who's turned up in all 3 of the teams we've seen so far. I didn't even consider Chadley.
We'll talk about him. He's one of these players. He's below the radar, as in when you watch a game with Chadley playing, you think, why is Chadley
Where is he? Is he playing? Yeah.
But from a fantasy point of view, he will then score. And that's
he's a Kevin Nolan, isn't he? Kevin Nolan's like that. He does absolutely nothing, looks useless. And then he'll give him a chance and he'll take it. And then suddenly, end of the season, 12 goals. Thank you very much. So
so Brainstem. So yes, he's got and then up front he's got Rooney, Benteke, Wilson. Subs bench, he's got Rudd, O'Shea, Baker, Wanyama. So I can't fault most of his first 11.
For me, that's the best of the 3 we've looked at. So
yeah, it's absolutely. But then you see how he's done that, and then you look at his bench. So he's got Wanyama in. Okay, fair enough. 4.5 million defenders. So then he's got Rudd and Ruddy. So he's banking on Norwich getting. See, now we'll come to our own teams. I have Ruddy in my team, but I have Ruddy as part of. I have 2 playing goalkeeper because I want a choice. If you look having Norwich every week,
well, it'll be entertaining.
It'll be entertaining, but I would love to have a choice. He's taken that choice away from himself there. He's got Baker, so we've already talked about 4 million. Baker's 4 million, very well owned as well. So
he's got John O'Shea. So basically, he's got Baker who won't play and John O'Shea who can't play. So
yeah, Baker won't play because Villa have just invested in the defence. He couldn't play last season, so why is he going to play when they've got even more good defenders in?
I mean, everyone's going for O'Shea. Let's look at O'Shea's ownership because it's quite interesting. Yeah. Sunderland back line. I think he's quite. From what I can gather, I haven't looked at this yet. But I reckon, 12.4%. O'Shea have been so popular.
The only thing about O'Shea, it's just his fitness. Basically, he's just another year older. He can get the injuries, but I think he could do well this season under the new centre backs. Look to benefit from changes to the bonus points, we think, and so I think that could favour him. So I don't have a problem with O'Shea there. It's the lack of choice on his bench. And I personally, if I was him, I'd be looking at perhaps Chadley and Wilson and thinking, how can I alter that? How can I get Chadley a bit lower down? Maybe consider Ritchie, maybe Bradley Johnson at Norwich, something like that.
I can see one transfer that I'd look at there.
Yeah.
Right, Benteke. Now, and I know Benteke is going to do well, and I know that he will eventually probably outscore this player, but I'm going to throw Graziano Pella in because he's 8 million.
You're going to like
8 million, and Benteke is 8.5, right? Yeah. But if you look at Pella's fixtures, and he's done all right pre-season.
Yeah.
Southampton start with Newcastle, Everton, Watford, Norwich, West Brom, right? So that's a first 5 where I think they're going to get a few goals. Yeah. And Pella started well last year as well, first season in top flight. I know he had that awful spell. Yeah. And then the jury's still out, and if you don't want Mane, I think you've got to have one of Mane and Pella, given the fixtures. Yeah. So I would be tempted, if I was in Brainston's situation, to get 0.5 back off Benteke there. Obviously, Benteke you can look at again later when he starts to settle, but we've talked about Liverpool's fixtures being, too good, pretty awful. It's going to be a tough start for them, I think. So that'd be the move I'd make there.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably wise. I think a bit like our previous rating my team, he's got slightly ahead of himself with Benteke. There are certainly better options. Game week 2, Sacco could be. From game week 2, Sacco could be a great option. He's 6.5.
And the thing is with him, Leicester, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Norwich are his first 4 home games before game week.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if he doesn't get some points there.
Yeah, absolutely. So Walcott, we didn't talk about him.
Yeah.
First time he's come up. Now, he's another one of these players he's in my team. He's locked in at the moment.
Yeah.
I keep talking myself out of it, going, well, he's going to get rotated with where do you stand on him? He's a favourite of mine, but where do you stand on him? I know you like Ramsey, so you probably...
I like Ramsey. No, I've got Walcott in my team.
Have you? Right.
Okay, why have I got Walcott in my team? One of the reasons, if you bear with me, I shall flag up a community article that totally convinced me. I was very keen on getting him before. So this is a community article by Lasso Solid Crew, Fantasy Football's best all-round attackers. So he's analysed goals and assists, and also goals and assists per minute and per 90 minutes over the last 3 seasons. And so basically this is a hit list of the top FPL performers. So these are the guys that are getting goals, assists, and therefore bonus as well. So these are absolute gold. So you look and looking at his midfielders, Walcott top, absolute top. He gets a goal or assist every 83 minutes he's on the pitch. The next nearest midfielder to him is Hazard, a goal or assist every 121 minutes. Now, if we think Walcott is going to play, if we think he's going to start, and personally with Sanchez likely to miss game week 1, I think he will, then he is the most reliable midfielder in recent FPL history, and he's 9 million. So that's no brainer for me.
And also I think that even if he doesn't start a match,
he can come off.
He's definitely that kind of player.
This is what But this is what the So Solid Crew's research shows, because we know that Walcott hasn't got the minutes. We know that he's been a sub as well. But you know, he's more likely to score even as a sub. So then you've got Hazard there. The next nearest Arsenal one. I mean, I know some of them. Obviously, Özil hasn't been here for too long, nor Sanchez as well. So a little unfair there. But Ramsey, you know, he's 158. So he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's the 6th most successful midfielder as an FPL asset, as in the key things you need to score: goals, assists, bonus. You know, it's fantastic stuff. I mean, the absolute top players here. So Aguero, he gets a goal or assist every 76 minutes. Sturridge, injured a lot, but when he plays, every 80 minutes there's a goal or assist. Now, perhaps with Sturridge, you could argue his one season with Suarez skewed those, but with Aguero isn't. So, I mean, I'm looking at these and I'm thinking Aguero, Walcott, Hazard as well. I mean, these are absolute gold dust FPL assets. So for me, if he's got Walcott in his team, good on him. That's great.
Yeah, I think that you know, I want to try and get Özil in, because I'm not convinced him as a fantasy player, but I do think he will kick on this year. I think we'll see. He'll be up there with the leading assists.
No, I agree.
14, 15 assists. I think he could push double figures for goals. That'll be maybe a little bit unlikely, but he could do if he plays the number 10 role.
Assists, I think, with Özil, I think they're going to really step up.
But the thing is, with Sanchez and Walcott with Hazard, he's kind of looks to be the dream midfield. I'll throw another name in there, I've found him now in a Rate My Team on page 3.
Okay.
I'm looking at Tractor Boy 11 on page 3.
See if I'm finding them. Yeah. Tractor Boy.
Presumably an Ipswich fan.
You'd hope so, or a Tractor fan, who knows?
Yeah, maybe. A name that he's got in his team, who we haven't talked about yet, who I would put in the same bracket as Walcott, potentially, Sterling.
Oh, I thought you were
Now, he's a player that I had last year. I stood by him a lot. Let me down, obviously, when he went through that awful run. But so far for City, he's looked nothing short of explosive. Have you looked?
Well, you say so far for City. Now, I mean, as illustrious as are the Vietnam national side, and as illustrious as their all-star 11 is,
household names.
It's entirely possible I could score against them.
I haven't seen you play.
I'm not going to be drafting Raheem Sterling because he scored a brace against a Vietnam.
I'll give you that.
So we don't know. He's a variable. Will he start? Yeah, I mean, because I think you're looking at ultimately their front three. It's if they're going to play a front three, it's Aguero, Silva, and Sterling, because Sterling's better than Navas. So he's someone they've got, and it's Navas and Nasri. Nasri's not really in favour. So yeah, he's going to start now. Can he? Yeah, he's going to be fired up as well. It was clear that the contract talks affected his game, and he was. I mean, he's a great player to watch. I think obviously he's a great choice. But at the same time, we don't fully know how he's going to fit in. I'm presuming he will. I'm presuming he's going to do well.
All the talk is that he's going to play more or less every game, and he will play as part of a front three in a 4-3-3. That's what Pellegrini's been playing with pre-season so far. Sunday weekend friendly will show us more. We can't have them all, though, can we? This is it. I mean, you can't have them all, right? But Sterling, for me, I mean, we're talking about our watch list recommendations at the moment. I know that James has been working on those last week, and we're publishing them next week. And the big question for City is: do we go Silva or Sterling in the watch list? Silva is the safe bet, no doubt about it. You know what you're going to get. You're probably going to get 12 of him, 12 goals, 12 assists, probably around about that. Sterling, for me, could exceed that. He could get into the realms of 15 goals possibly if he's playing that 4-3-3. The problem is, and also what's in his favour is the fixtures. I'm looking at them now, right? City's home fixtures before game week 11 are absolutely ridiculous. They've got Watford, West Ham, Newcastle, Bournemouth and Norwich, right? They are going to score a lot of goals in those games, I would say. I don't see any of those defences standing up to City at the Etihad.
No.
But the problem is, with Champions League thrown in as well, is Sterling going to play against these teams? Because those are the teams you think, well, Pellegrini will play Navas maybe.
Yeah, he's got choice now, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you can't really predict that. But no, there's no arguing. If you're going to be looking at on paper, is he a good option from game week 4? Yes. Is he a good option from, because we spoke about City's first 2 or 3 fixtures, is he going to be a good option against Chelsea? Is he going to be a good option away at West Brom? Arguably not. Yeah, I think he's a great option for the season. Do I think he's a great game week 1 option when you look at the Arsenal midfield and potentially the Man U midfield as well? Then I would say he's a little bit below for me. But seeing Sterling in a rate my team, I can't argue with that. I can't argue with it.
Well, I mean, I wonder whether Tractor Boy is looking at Sterling for now, and then when he gets Aguero in, which presumably he's going to do, he'll get Sterling out. It'll be a Sterling downgrade and a Rooney upgrade, and there you go. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was looking at. So he's got, he's got Sterling in there. But so I mean, I was looking at another team here. So looking down. If you bear with me a second. So I was looking at a bit further down, Wizard. So he's
okay, got it. Yeah.
So looking at Wizard here. So I'm looking at that just because it's slightly similar here. So we're looking at someone there who's got Walcott, and he's got Hazard, and he's got Rooney. He's got an Arsenal defender. He's got a Chelsea defender. So he's got Azpilicueta, Mertesacker, Hazard, and the reason I pulled him out is because he's also got Silva as well. So he's splashing out 10 million there. I had a kind of a love and hate relationship with David Silva last season. I always transferred. I made the fatal error with that David Silva. I transferred him in, transferred him out, missed his points, got some of them. David Silva, if you could. So Wizard here, I say to Wizard, you have made your choice here. You have got David Silva in.
But check out his gravatar. His gravatar is none other than David Silva.
David Silva, So he's a big fan. So I'm saying to him, you have made your bed, and you will have to line it. Keep him. Don't get rid of him. You've got him for game week 1. There you go. When he gets injured, get him out. But otherwise, keep him in.
Yeah, but will he?
Otherwise,
will he do the same as what I've mentioned there with Tractor Boy? In that he's obviously going to look at Aguero, you presume, by game week 4 for the Watford game. Yeah. So is he going to go Rooney upgrade, and Silva's the one who's going to make way in midfield? I'd say that would be what he's doing, isn't it?
It could be, but I would look at it this way. If you think Aguero's going to score lots of goals and assist lots of goals, who is going to be scoring those goals and assisting those goals? Well, it's going to be Silva and Sterling. So, I mean, I would argue game week 4, you'd be looking at. I mean, ever since Sturridge Suarez, I'm a huge fan of doubling up on these assets, because if you think they're going to score a lot, then max out on it. I'd possibly be looking. I mean, we don't know. Maybe with Walcott. I mean, this is sad to say, but Walcott, hasn't got the greatest track record with injuries. Maybe Walcott will help Wizards make that decision and free up some cash to turn Benteke or Rooney into Aguero. So
the thing is, though, you say you can't judge a lot by pre-season, but I've seen Walcott in pre-season. He looks like a different animal. He looks like a beast.
Yeah, I mean,
absolute beast, doesn't he? I've never seen him looking as fit as he does at the moment.
We've got a series of burning questions articles coming up soon, and one of the questions that some of our team have already been looking at, I'm sure you're going to supply an answer to as well, is how much faith do you put in pre-season? And the gist of my answer is it helps to back up existing ideas and theories, but it never dictates a decision. And I agree with you. I was thinking of Walcott before, articles like the one I mentioned earlier about Walcott, and then you see him in pre-season and he's great as well. So it just validates that. You look at a player like, say, Rooney. I mean, he hasn't had a hugely impressive pre-season, but I don't know whether that says he's going to have a great early start or a bad early start. It's hard to gauge, and I certainly wouldn't, playing against Vietnam All-Star 11 is not really not really an indicator. But Walcott's been playing, Arsenal have been playing some good teams, so that's another aspect.
Well, and the thing is, for me, if you're going to double up on two teams in attack, it's Arsenal and City, because for me, they're the two who are going to score the most goals.
Well, there was an interesting post which I'm probably going to lose. I'm going to try and find it desperately. It was so I can credit the right person, but the gist of it was, as I looked for it, was that in the first. Looking back at the Arsenal's involvement in the Community Shield, pretty much his Community Shield side is the one that is the Game Week 1 side. The only times it hasn't, I'm going to have to apologise to the person who posted this wonderful stats earlier, but the only times were basically through injury. I think he went back as far as the Bergkamp days, and Bergkamp had an injury. So the beauty of Arsenal's midfield is, when they play the Community Shield, we're pretty much going to know who's going to play. So if Walcott is playing up front, if Walcott's playing on one of the wings, we know that's probably 90% certain that's going to happen in Game Week 1. So that's great. So we know that.
I mean, I'm looking at it and going, well, Walcott will play against West Ham for me up front. But then they've got Liverpool at the Emirates Game Week 3, and I think that Wenger's going to want Walcott for that game. So I wonder whether he's going to roll out Giroud at Palace in Game Week 2, and that's when we start seeing a bit of Walcott on the bench. But I think we've said already, Walcott is a player. If you bring Walcott on with 20 minutes to go against tired legs. Yeah,
it's great. I mean, players with pace, like Michael Owen in his heyday wasn't a sub apart from when he was at Real Madrid. But yeah, he's not a player you want to face off the bench with 20 minutes to go when he was in his prime. It's just the pace is, especially against someone like a team like Palace.
But one thing I think we're going to see a lot of probably in Game Week 2 is lull at Walcott owners when he's on the bench for the first time.
There's
going to be a lot of that.
And then a lot of non-Walcott owners as he gets a hat-trick in the last 10 minutes.
You can do that. Okay, let's do one more team before we sign off for the night. Let's have a scan down and find someone here. SPFC, let's go with him. He hasn't got an answer yet. So
what page is he on?
He's on page 3 as well. I believe I'm still on page 3.
Okay.
SPFC.
SPFC. Here we go. Yeah, got him. Ruddy Butland, Ivanovic, Cedric Mings, Jenkinson, a random 4 million defender. Well, good luck with that. That probably won't happen. Hazard, Ramsey, Walcott. Now, I see why you picked this one. Redmond, Ritchie, Sacco, Pella, and Rooney.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it. And I'm guessing why you picked that is because he's got Ramsey and Walcott. So that's
Well, I think the double Arsenal's good.
Yeah.
Because I think that home to West Ham, and with the start they've got and the pre-season form, they look like they've got rhythm. I think goals are going to come against West Ham. I like Sacco for Game Week 2 because he's got 2 decent home games. I like Ritchie for Game Week 1 and for Bournemouth's fixtures because I think we've got the cover there of Bournemouth, and Ritchie's the playmaker on spot kicks and free kicks. And he's got Pella in there. I spoke about him already. Rooney, I think, is a given. I think he of the heavy hitters up front, he's the one to get from the off. You've got Hazard, you don't need Costa, perhaps. Controversial, but that's probably the case. I think this is a good side. I like Ivanovic, I like Cedric. I think that's a good pairing. Tyrone Mings, okay, so he's put in faith in the Bournemouth back line. Most people go for Francis there, so he's gone. And he's got the 2 playable keepers. Do you like that? Ruddy and Butland. Have you looked at those 2?
Yeah, they're my keepers. Yeah, love it. I think they're great. One of the reasons I've got Ruddy, maybe he's also got Ruddy or she's got Ruddy, is when Ruddy was last in the Premier League, he was something like 2nd or 3rd highest for saves. Now, I don't for a minute think Norwich are going to get lots of clean sheets. I do think he's going to get lots of saves. One of the first things I learned in Fantasy Premier League was something called the David James rule. If you've got a player that makes a lot of saves in a very bad team, his team at the time, Portsmouth, then you are going to get a lot of points. And those goalies can get you 4 or 5 points, even if they concede 1 or 2 goals, because of the sheer quantity of saves. And Ruddy saves a lot. Norwich, I'm assuming they're not going to be so great on for clean sheets. Butland I like because Stoke are one of the few teams that are reliable at home. I'm not saying they're going to get lots of clean sheets, but they're not going to concede many. So he's a good option there, and he's a good goalie as well. This is he's an up and coming good goalie.
He's a shot stopper, yeah.
So SPFC has actually put in, which is really, really good for some of these Rate My Teams, actually a specific question. And it's something I was going to say to him, really. He says, is it worth, he's planning to rotate Saka and Ritchie from Bournemouth and Saka West Ham. Okay. That's actually quite a good, not a bad rotation, certainly in game weeks 1 and 2. That's a pretty fantastic rotation. But or instead get a 4.5 million midfielder. So get rid of Redmond or Ritchie for a 4.5 and just play him. I personally favour that because I've been caught out with players like Puncheon before. It's far too hard to predict.
It is, but I'm looking at that rotation that he's got there. You can see it. I mean, it's a sea of blue to start with. Yeah. From game week 1 to 8, we're getting home games. Yeah. This is what you get with Ritchie and Sacco. You get Villa at home, Leicester at home, Bournemouth at home, Leicester at home, Newcastle at home, Sunderland at home, Norwich at home, Watford at home. That's pretty strong. Yeah.
And look at his team as well. So in defence, he's got Jenkinson and Mings. So he's already there with defence. It's pretty. This SPFC, I think,
good side.
It's probably got the best one I've seen. The only issue he's got is this 4 million defender. I'd be trying to get 5.5 somewhere. So I think Redmond is probably the one. Redmond's 5.5, I believe. I'd be probably looking at perhaps a 4.5 or 5 million. See what he can get there, and improving on his defence, or possibly downgrading Cedric. I know Southampton have good fixtures, but I really like his Bournemouth West Ham rotation. He's got Ivanovic, so that's 2 slots sorted. Perhaps maybe getting Cedric, and I mean, if he's going to go rotation in defence, maybe downgrade Cedric to a 4.5, upgrade his 4 million, and then go for another one there. So yeah, I like that. He's SPFC's. I'm surprised that well, as far as we can see on this one, no one had replied, because I suspect no one replied because it's a great side.
Yeah, he's got that set up, I think. Okay, John T, I think what we'll do, we'll save our teams for another night.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because hopefully next week we'll have a few others on here to join us. But I think the format's pretty good. I think that worked quite well. Talking through some of the things. We obviously can't cover everybody in there, but we got through 5 teams there. I think next Wednesday we'll do another session, maybe even extend it to 2 hours of more of us. Granville, we'll get him involved. He's out tonight, but we'll get him involved. Hopefully we'll have Duff Links. Hopefully we'll have Tom Fenley as well. And then on Friday we may even have 3 former champions for you. If not on the Hangout, certainly on the site. So, but yeah, John T, it's been good to speak to you again. It's been a couple of months off, but we're warming up for the new season. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Well, it's been good looking at everyone's teams as well.
Getting in the mood for it now. I hope you enjoyed listening to this. We're going to post this and embed this on the Rate My Team discussion from tonight. That thread's been going pretty well. Lots of good advice going around there, which is great to see. We may launch one again on Friday. If not, the next one will be this time next week on Wednesday. And as I say, we'll do one on the Friday before kickoff. John T, good to speak to you, and it's a good night for me.
And good night from me.